Are you ready?
Live from the Metal Mayhem Studios in Rochester, New York.
We are gold.
And heard around the world by metalheads just like you. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Heavy metal music.
Your weekly dose of metal music, interviews, album reviews, news, and more. Want to be part of the show? Send us a message through our website, metalmayhemroc.com, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Search Metal Mayhem ROC.
It's getting nice and heavy.
Now, welcome our hosts, John the Vernomatic Verno and Metal Forever Mark.
Tonight's show is brought to you by the letter H, as in heavy. It's Thursday night, it's 8 p.m., and it's time for the show, kiddies. I'm the Vernomatic, and this is Metal Mayhem ROC. A lot of exciting things going on with the show right now in this fall, and I just want to give you a little preview of what's going on in the next couple weeks up here on the show. In 3 weeks, we'll have an exclusive interview with Sean Peck of Death Dealer. The visionary vocalist stopped by to tell us about the new Death Dealer album. And we play some of the music and go over some of the killer standout tracks. Kelly Nichols, bass player of LA Guns, talked to him tonight. We'll be doing an interview with him in a couple weeks when the new LA Guns drops. And in the next couple weeks, we have a big interview with an up-and-coming band that's gaining a lot of traction here in the Rochester area and globally. Not going to tell you what it is yet. You're just going to have to listen and find out, but I'm sure a lot of you will be into it. For tonight's show, we have Wicked. Wicked is a Central New York band that has the vibe of the 70s and 80s, big arena rock with a little bit of their interpretation flavored in. They're big-time presentation kind of stuff. They have a killer stage show. They have that attitude of the 70s and 80s that is lost in today's rock and roll and metal. So Wicked came to town to record a couple videos that's going to be on their new album in January. And we caught up with them with an interview. We talked with the bass player, Danny Dahl. So they'll be coming up later in the show. But first, we had a chance to speak with Metal Mayhem ROC correspondent Metal J. Metal J is a musician, but he also works in the rock and roll industry as a roadie, management. He's done it all. He's like a jack of all trades. Well, he was able to give us a call and gave us a little insight on exactly what goes on a big-time rock and roll tour, as well as some of the lower-end club tours. He's here to dispel some of the misconception about what goes on at these shows, what goes on backstage, and overall the role of a roadie or road manager. It's really interesting. I learned a few things. I'm sure you will too. And then later in the show, we'll end with a cool Mt.Rushmore segment with rock and roll women. It's a Rushmore of metal girls and girls in the metal community. So that being said, we have on the line Metal Mayhem ROC correspondent Metal J. Hey, Jay, how are you, buddy?
Hey, John, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Of course. Things are all right. It's mid-October. Football's going. World Series is here. No rock and roll.
Yeah, I'm voting for the Rays. Yeah, the World Series is my rock concert right now, just so you know.
I was going to say, there's no shows. There's no nothing. So I'm like, let's give Metal J a call, see what's going on with him. So I wanted to get you on here tonight, Metal J, and you have a lot of experience, relationships with bands, being backstage, meeting the bands, a little bit about the meet and greets, which may be a thing of the past, but we'll touch on that in a few, and just general anecdotes that the average fan may not realize. Sure. So that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Metal J.
Sure. Okay, let me qualify something too. Speaking as a industry professional, at least nowadays, the backstage area, it's all business. It's not like, when you pull back the curtain, it's not like there's some wild party, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. At least I haven't seen that. When I've been working shows, either as a guitar tech or drum tech or an engineer, it's always been all business, tight schedules, bands on your post, you got a 50-minute changeover. If I'm a guitar tech, drum tech, or monitor engineer, it's just getting that stage turned over so get next band on time. So my experience, I've never seen any wild parties backstage. It's usually people waiting in the wings, ready to get on stage. Bands are usually at the base of the stage and the wings ready to come on when they're told, it's their set time. So that's my experience of the backstage experience.
Now, when you're working shows, and I'm sure it's a broad range of gigs, is it a festival situation? Is it like an arena show? Mm-hmm. A little bit of both?
I'd say a little bit of everything. I've done some arena shows. I've done some festival gigs, and I've done, as you know, club gigs too, or say small theater gigs. Mm-hmm. So, but and to me, it's been all been the same. Just because the job's still the same. Whether I'm a drum tech for an artist at a club level or doing a festival, the job's still the same. It just the stages are that much bigger, that much smaller. In case of festivals, it's outdoors.
So when you're working a show, what are the do's and don'ts? Because sometimes people think, oh man, if I was a drum tech, I'd be hanging out with Charlie Benante and, we'd be like pounding beers. So
I can only relate to my experience. I would say the do's and don'ts are do's. Do your job. Your primary duty is to take care of your artist. So if I'm a drum tech or guitar tech, your first duty is to the artist, first and foremost. That artist should be able to come to that stage, get behind their drum kit, or hand that guy's guitar, pick up their stage, and if I hand the guitar player his guitar, he should know that guitar is tuned, locked, and ready to roll. So when it hits that first note, coming off the beat. Same with the drummer. He should be able to get behind that drum kit. No, it's tuned up exactly the way he or she wants it, and it's good to go. So going back to the do's, make sure your artist is taken care of. Make sure the gear is prepped and ready to go. And also be ready to troubleshoot. If there's a problem, you got to be there at a moment's notice. If a cymbal stand tips over, grab it. If a guitar string, God forbid, a guitar string breaks, you have another guitar ready to hand over at a moment's notice. So you got to pay attention to your artist. Don't drink. Don't party. Do not do drugs. Do not be messed up in any way. You got to be 100%. Because, it's a 30-minute show or 2-hour and 30-minute show. You got to be 100% the whole time. Now, once the gear's packed up and everything's stowed away and secured, then you can have a little bit of fun. But your first duty is take care of the artist first and foremost.
What kind of, without disclosing full numbers, how is the pay?
Pay scale varies. Obviously, an arena level band, for example, I can't confirm numbers, but let's take an Iron Maiden level band tour will pay significantly more than a band who's touring, clubs, which makes sense. If you're selling out stadiums, 20, 30,000 people, there's gonna be much bigger budgets than bands you're playing 50 to 100 people. So.
What about the meet and greets and these packages that have gotten more popular in the last 10 years? Yeah. What experience you have with those?
I got experience, as a tour manager for a band. I've had to kind of coordinate them, but the meet and greets, they vary by level of band. For example, let's take an arena level band, a band that's playing stadiums or arenas. Some of those VIP meet and greets are when I say they're part of the package, it's to get the fans to buy the higher price tickets. So if you've gone like any of the websites when a major band has announces a tour, usually like maybe the first 15, 20 rows, they're all some degree of a VIP meet and greet package. Like the first row is, an all access VIP, rows 2 through 5 are meet and greet, and rows 6 to 10 are second tier VIP. So I think at the arena level, again, just what I've seen, it's more of an excuse for the promoters to upsell the ticket, if that makes any sense. I mean, think the bands that play clubs or even the theaters in the casino circuit. I think some bands out there, like you look at the VIP packages, they'll say it does not include a ticket price. You know some bands that do that. I know I can think 3 or 4 bands offhand, and it's not being critical of bands, but it's like they have their VIP packages, and I think that's how they make additional money, because you buy a ticket to the show from the promoter from the local venue. Then you buy the VIP package directly from the band through their website or wherever their representative site is. And I think that's how they kind of, some of those bands earn extra cash, because you figure, okay, the ticket goes to the promoter that covers the promoter's guarantee or the promoter's promise guarantee, whereas the VIP is strictly between the fan and the band. And I think that's how some of those bands are earning extra cash too. I saw a band was 2 years ago in Buffalo, national touring band. They're selling the VIPs at $75 a pop, and they had about 50 people there just for the VIP alone for a sold out show. So they figured $75 a pop, 50 people. There's, I'm not going to get the math in my head, but there's a good chunk of change. That's basically free money.
So you said you're a musician. Why don't you give the Metal Mayhem ROC listeners a little update on what Metal J's doing and when we could expect some music from you?
Right now, so I've got a bunch of material recorded. I've kind of recorded over the last 3 or 4 years. I was probing for initial release a couple of years ago, but we had problems, finding the right singer. So obviously, no singer can't finish an album. So I kind of sat on it for a while and regrouped, then found an amazing singer last year, and decided rather than release 2 albums out the gate, I decided let's start with an EP first, because let's be honest, no one buys albums anymore. So right now, took the 20 songs we have in the can, took what I thought were the 5 best, and gonna put together a 5-song EP. Working title of the EP is called Dawn of Armageddon. Not children's music, obviously, but I'd say musically, it's in the vein of classic heavy metal. If you like Defenders of the Era, Priest, with a little bit of, I'd say Accept in there, this would be right up your alley.
Cool. When do you think it'll be done and ready for our ears?
I'm thinking I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the year or shortly after the first of the year, and I'm priming for release in spring 2021.
Obviously, as soon as it's done, let us know. We'll have you back on, and we'll spin some of it.
Well, I'll say too, I'd love to have the Metal Mayhem team come down to the studio too when we're doing the mixing to get a first-hand preview.
Of course. We're only an hour away. Yeah. Sounds good. All right, Metal J. Well, thanks for the insight. I learned something, and I'm sure everyone else will learn something. And anything else you want to contribute before we get out of here?
I'm just ready to keep on rocking, ready for this pandemic to end so we can get back to having some live shows again. And I'm hoping I'm hedging my bet to 2021 to be a kick-ass year for metal. I guess we have there's going to be a ton of releases coming next year between Megadeth, Accept, hopefully Judas Priest. And I'm looking forward to seeing some live shows next year.
Oh, aren't we all? All right, Jay. Well, we will be in touch. Thanks, buddy.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You've got it locked to Metal Mayhem ROC. Danny, welcome to Metal Mayhem. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me, man. Super excited to do this interview and to talk metal and rock and roll.
Great. So you're originally from Central New York. Give us a little brief history of how the band came together and, again, what you're all about.
We actually come from Utica, New York, of all places. My brother Chad and I, what a rich, rock and roll metal history with a cast of characters there. From there, we kind of met the rest of the guys in the surrounding areas of upstate New York, Scotty and Gunnar, and put this band together, which was truly like to bring back with a new, fresh angle, the hard rock arena kind of feel of rock and roll that you used to see back in the 70s and 80s.
So it's a brother act, you and your brother, and you recruited a couple of guys. So Gunner is from the Oneida area, correct?
That's right. Yeah, Gunnar Costin.
The other gentleman, where is he from?
Scotty V, our lead guitarist, he's actually from Geneva, New York. So Finger Lakes region.
Truly a central Western New York kind of connection.
You got it, man.
Yeah, Dan, it's been interesting as Vernomatic and I have been doing this show now almost a year and a half. Actually, we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary soon, which has been pretty cool. It's interesting because we're trying, this is obviously a global, national, worldwide, platform. But on the flip side, having our roots here in Western New York and Rochester, New York, it is amazing how much the roots of heavy metal really come through Rochester. I mean, like almost every other interview we have, one of these artists somewhere, like even back to Metallica recording Kill 'Em All here.
Exactly.
It's pretty cool. So the fact that you guys are hailing from the same area is pretty awesome.
It is. It's an area that's just rich in the metal and rock. I really feel that way.
So touching on the band Wicked, have to ask, does it come from Wicked Lester?
It's funny, we get that all the time because if you've seen the band live or seen pictures, you'll see that we really have like a crazy stage get up that harkens little feels from like Kiss and Cooper and stuff like that. We've got leather and studs and platform boots and the whole nine. But it didn't originally come from that at all. It ended up being a super coincidence. The name actually came from just my brother and I. We have a bunch of friends in Salem and that are a little bit into the occult and of course rock and roll scenes. And we've always thought that was just a very extreme kind of perfect definition for what we were going for. And that's where that came from. But now we kind of roll with it. We're like, yeah, Wicked Lester, that's freaking so cool.
Well, you have a lot of the variables. You're heavy on the Casablanca era of the 70s.
Exactly.
With the Stars and that kind of feel. The song All American Rock and Roller, when I've watched the video a few times and I've been doing some show research, that has a mid-70s Kiss feel to it. And
absolutely.
I've watched the videos and you have some of those mannerisms of Gene. I get it. So when I saw the Wicked, I'm like, hey, I wonder if they're paying homage to Wicked Lester.
Absolutely. I mean, the guys from Wicked Lester that became Kiss, I mean, you can't deny that whole culture kind of feel in metal and rock and roll and just having that little bit of an extra thing. And it's funny because there's a lot of parallels even before we really started making this band. And that's when we met each other. We saw that right away. Everybody has their thing that's unique. So
go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Danny, I was going to say that. So you guys are in New York City, and you're playing shows this weekend. Is that correct?
Actually, we're in New York City. We've got a bunch of press that we're doing today, but we're here to do a bunch of photo shoots for the new album that we're kind of getting prepped and poised for an early 2021 release. So this weekend's a photo shoot weekend, and then we're actually back up to Rochester Tuesday, and we're shooting a cool music video at the historic German house, which will be really exciting.
Oh man, wow, that's interesting. Maybe Vernomatic and I will swing down if it's okay to say hi to you all. Because
dude, that would be awesome. Yeah,
we put on 2 shows at the historic German house before, of course, our good friend COVID-19.
That's right.
That's just a great venue, and what a great place for you to shoot. You're shooting. So, what song are you shooting the video for?
We've got a new one that's going to be off the new release that's called Lost in the Dark. So we're going to do that, but we're also going to throw in kind of like an old school fan favorite that's never been released, Hot Stage Lights. So we're going to actually capture 2 videos in one long ass day. So it'll be a lot of fun and a lot of work and a lot of rock and roll, man.
And if I may ask, how did you guys come to pick that particular venue here in Rochester? Like what's the connection there?
Well, there's a lot of different places. Of course, Rochester's rich in great venues and great hangs and everything like that. But I think that the historic German house really has a different old school vibe to it. And it just bleeds that kind of like emotion out of its walls and floors. And it's a beautiful stage. So we were really hard pressed to figure where we wanted to go. And that was just the first thing was like, we know that this is going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, so okay, that makes sense because we were trying to figure out how. That was the next question: how are you guys pulling off a show in New York City, which is one of the more restrictive places, I guess, in the country at the moment. So that makes a lot of sense. So it's press and it's photo shoots, and then you guys are prepping for a video. And then when does this new CD drop?
We don't have an official date right now, but I can tell you that it will definitely be early 2021, right out the gate. So be on the lookout for that, and there'll be more definitely to come, more press release information in the next months in front of us. So,
hey, Danny, I noticed on your website you're big on videos, and you have that video blog going. Have you?
Yeah, the Glamcast.
Yeah. Have you thought about doing some kind of streaming on your website, the way some bands are taking any avenues to get some exposure?
Absolutely. We got some cool, you guys could be the first to hear it. We got some cool stuff. We're going to do a little bit of like a kind of a Patreon thing with our fans. And we want to start getting some live stream stuff out there in the meantime to keep everybody kind of feeling that rock and roll vibe. Of course it's a little bit of a bummer because you don't have that social interaction, which we really feel is the true heart of rock and roll, being able to really be there, reach out to your fans and experience that moment in time with each other. But, we're going to bring it as best we can, via streaming. And I think it'll be really cool. And everybody's got to kind of help each other out in these tough times. And that's just another way to do it, so it's really cool how people are doing it. It's something we've been kind of poising for, but kind of with a lot of things with Wicked, we always like to make sure that when we pull the trigger, we're doing it on our terms and the way we like it. So this is going to be a really cool thing. It'll be very complementary to being able to see a real show, not just a bunch of guys sitting in a room with acoustic guitars. We're going to do this up, so it's going to be fun.
Hey, Danny, so when I went onto your website and I hit the landing page, and to Vernomatic's point, you see the Marshall stacks and you see the your stage presence that you guys are going for. In some ways, it screams like, "Hey, metal band," but on the other side, it's rock and it's got that '70s vibe, like Vernomatic had mentioned. Directionally speaking, kind of where do you see what's the plan with the band musically, and not to label everything clearly, but directionally musically, where are you guys heading?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the big thing with Wicked is we'll always have that, that early '70s kind of like a Kiss mixed with like, Stars and that bluesiness kind of vibe. But we're really just honing everything. And if you really want to throw in another good descriptor is your Thin Lizzy kind of feel. And I mean, we have the twin guitars that we've always had, and really just leaning into, that kind of like old school hard rock vibe with a new twist on it, which is, the Wicked twist.
Well, it's a nice compliment in these down times where everything's just a downer. And when you see something like this, and you guys are augmenting exactly the fun part of the 80s,
absolutely
jumping on stage, having fun. And the thing is, what's wrong with writing songs about girls and partying and having fun and just smiling? And that's what I see when I watch this. I'm like,
and that's exactly it. It's an escape. Sometimes you just need an escape from your day to day and the world. And it's nice to kind of unplug and plug into something with a lot of energy and good vibes. So that's really what we like to do.
I wouldn't be able to get by without mentioning your Central New York ties. I spent a couple years in Herkimer, New York, studying broadcasting, and one of my classmates was Genesee Joe from The Drive in 92.7. Sounds like Joe and Wicked have a long history.
Absolutely. Genesee Joe, man, he's a legend, and he's a great guy, really good friend, and has really done a lot for the band over the last 8 years, really, since the start of it, in its incarnations. And Joe's had us promoted on 92.7 The Drive, really took care of us, and we've done a lot of cool things together. We've shot some media with him up in the old studio and stuff, and it really has been a great relationship. He's a great guy, and we do owe him a lot of debt to how he's taking care of us.
Expanding on what Mark mentioned earlier, how everything's connected. We're in Rochester. Joe and I go back 30 years. Joe in Wicked. Joe's telling me he's retiring on the residuals from his appearance in the Radio Brain video. Is this true?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. So you're going to be up in town on this Tuesday doing some videos for the forthcoming album. How long are you going to be in town for?
It's a short little weekend stint, but today's a busy day. We started at about 8 a.m. this morning. We had a bunch of press going on, and we have that continuing into the night until we do our first photo shoot, where we're actually going to go to Hoboken for it. But yeah, it's been fun. We've done some live interviews, live photo shoots up in we're in this amazing Hugo Hotel in Soho, and the place is really cool. It's got all those New York City vibes, rooftop bar, so you see the whole cityscape and everything. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow. We've got an all-day photo shoot, which is really focused on this new album and the imagery. And then, like I said, we're back in the Rochester, and we're going to keep plugging away. I mean, I think the important thing is it's tough times and there's roadblocks, but this is the time where support each other, your radio shows, your fans, your favorite bands, and everybody's working. And I think once things lift, it's going to be like a bomb going off. Like people are just they're going to be out there. They're hungry for that live music. They're hungry for that energy. And, Wicked is just prepping and preparing the best that we could bring our fans. So.
Yeah, well stated. By the way, this photo shoot in Hoboken, is it an outdoor photo shoot or indoor or a combination of both?
We've got a bunch of combinations. Tonight's going to be a studio shoot. And then tomorrow we'll have a lot of studio mixed with outdoor stuff back in the city.
Wow, that's great. You should take some, make sure you do some social media around random street people walking by. My guess is you're going to be in full stage garb. Right?
Oh, you bet. And you gotta love that interaction. It's like when Kiss was in Manhattan and everything, and it's always such a cool thing because people are just like, where are these guys from? Outer space, you know what I mean? It's awesome.
That is awesome.
Danny Dahl from Wicked, gearing up for 2021 with the new release. We want to thank you for stopping in to Metal Mayhem ROC. Any parting shots, your socials, where could people get in touch with Wicked?
Absolutely. We really appreciate you guys having us. For everybody out there who's, readers and listeners, definitely go to our main hub. It's wickedrockandrollofficial.com. That'll take you anywhere else. But if you're hitting up Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything is at Wicked Rock and Roll. So check it out. Stay in touch with us. We've got the Glamcast podcast that we air. And that's a cool sit-in with the band, like being kind of one of the boys in the room and just hanging out and shooting the shit. A lot of cool stuff. And, stay in touch. And like I said, keep rock and roll alive because it will come back full force. And when it does, it's just going to be like a bomb. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Danny. We'll look forward to seeing you, and good luck with all your new releases and efforts.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye.
Bye.
This edition of Metal Mayhem ROC is brought to you by Mr. V's Street Style Vending and Special Events Catering. Visit our lunch cart in the Collegetown District at Strong Memorial Hospital, or hit up the late night weekend location at the corner of Monroe Avenue and South Goodman. Look us up at mrvsvending.com for catering, pricing, and availability. That's Mr. V's Street Style Vending and Special Events Catering. Now, back to Metal Mayhem ROC. Many have tried, most have failed, only a few survived. This is the Mount Rushmore of metal.
All right, the Mount Rushmore of metal continues. We're going to go with the hottest female, metal personalities or artists or whatever you have. This is going to be a little broad category. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. I'm sorry. Vernomatic's laughing over there because we know this is an interesting topic. Not very PC in the political correct world that we live in, but we're going to tackle it anyway because we're heavy metal and it doesn't matter. So Coming in at number 4 for me, I'm going to go with Alyssa White-Glantz. She is the lead singer for Arch Enemy. I think she's done a phenomenal job coming in after Angela Gasso dropped from the band from touring and recording and all that. She wears amazing outfits. She dyes her hair different colors all the time, and I think she's a great performer. And overall, I'm just going to throw her right on my list as number 4. Number 3 for me is a little weird because I feel like I have a little bit of a personal relationship with this singer, artist. It's going to be Cobra Page from Cobra and the Lotus. And if you look at most top 15 or 10 or 20 hottest females in metal, she's usually going to pop up on the list. And again, I think she's a beautiful person inside and out. And I'm just going to say that she's number 3 on the hottest chicks in metal. Now, number 2, this might surprise the Vernomatic just a little bit because she's not an artist per se or in a band per se. But I'm going to go with Tawny Kitaen from those old school Whitesnake videos, man, rolling up on the hood of the car and the whole deal. So, again, she's not really a performer, but she's connected to Whitesnake. And when you think back to those old school Whitesnake videos, you think Tawny Kitaen. So she's connected to metal in that way. And then number 1 for me, and it's going to be another curveball for the Vernomatic, and I don't even know her name, but it's the chick that's on the Great White covers. I think it's the same one on multiple covers, but the one I'm thinking of is the album called Hooked, where there's a huge fish hook coming out of the ocean. This girl is on it with a whole bunch of seaweed draped over, but she's otherwise naked. She's a blonde girl, and I don't know her name, so I'm going with her, number 1. And again, she might be on Once Bitten and also Twice Shy, although it's hard to tell if there's different girls, but whatever. The girl from Hooked, Great White, number 1. Mount Rushmore of metal, hottest chicks in metal.
That's what I was wondering. Was it the Once Bitten, Twice Shy girl?
Well, I think there's actually 2 girls, although it could be 2 different angles of how the girl looks. I'm not sure. And then I don't know if it's even the same girl that was on the first, not the very first Great White album, but I guess Once Bitten, which was their first commercialized one. So anyway, that's what I'm going with. We'll have to do some fact checking to find out who that girl actually is.
It's funny how, like, when we do show production for this, we have strict guidelines and practices and procedures, and Mark took it upon himself to bend the rules a little bit. But I like it. It's no different than Peyton Manning at the line of scrimmage that caught an audible.
Audible right in the middle of it.
He looked at the Mount Rushmore. He's like, you know what? I'm going to have to. So props to Mark. Okay, my list. I don't have the enunciation skills that my partner over here does, so I'm going to lean on him a little bit. Coming in at number 4, the lead singer of the band, Laguna Coil.
Lacuna Coil.
Lacuna. I have that Laguna. Laguna Coil, Angela.
No, Christina Scabia.
Christina Scabia.
From Italy.
Okay, well, had a chance to see the band years ago open for Maiden down in New York and had front row positioning for a little bit, and, she was a good-looking girl. Number 3 is the guitarist. I think she played with Alice Cooper for a while, Arante. And she actually was going with Richie Sambora for a bit. So
I'm glad you got that. She also, I guess, was guitarist for the she's going to go on tour with Michael Jackson for his big tour before he passed away. And, yeah, you're right. She's connected to Richie Sambora. I'm not sure in which way, but, yes. And she's a good metal shredder, too.
Number 2, Nina Strauss just released a killer instrumental album last year. She came to town at the Montage. Mark, you went to that show, didn't you?
I did, and I must admit, did the VIP meet greet pre-show, and she answered some questions, and she was super cool all the way around, and cannot argue with your list so far.
Okay, and number 1, just out of respect for being in the metal world for all these years and still banging it out, literally, Doro Pesch, formerly of Warlock, but then went out on her own, and just saw recently she's doing some drive-in gigs up in Germany. So still banging it out, still sporting metal, and that's my top list.
Yeah, she still looks great for her age, at whatever age that may or may not be. And by the way, I thought you were going to go, because you had mentioned this before when we were talking about this, the album cover to Witchfinder General, Friends of Hell. And
both of them, Friends of Hell and Death Penalty. If you're home listening to this, you could visit metalmayhemroc.com, go to the blog for show notes, and there's links to
I see the death penalty one now, so I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, there'll be links to these images that we're talking about. So
yeah, and since I went off the rails too, I thought for sure you're gonna go weren't Cherry Pie Girl, Bobby Brown, but I guess you didn't go there. I thought you were going there.
No, well, I'm not as quick on my feet as you are on this. So that's Mount Rushmore Metal.
Metal for life.
Thanks for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our websites at metalmayhemroc.com and metalforever.com for information on upcoming concerts, podcasts, archives, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. Catch us next time on WLFE DB Radio.